Greetings. Today I want to encourage you. Serve no master, but the master within you. In short, I'm saying to you, never let anyone have you to look outside of yourself for any master or for any savior. The master is within you. The savior is within you. Everything exists in your consciousness, your awareness, because all is mind. We are living in a mental construct. For example, everything that we need in this life for survival, it was for us a thought, it was for us an idea, it was for us imagine. So, you look at the aeroplane, it's the expression of a thought. You look at money, it is the expression of a thought. Everything whereby it comes from science and technology is the expression of a thought. So, basically, you are a spiritual scientist walking by spiritual, divine, infinite, immutable laws. But they don't want you to discover these things about yourself, because if you know these things, it will empower you. So they give you a master outside of yourself. That's why I'm saying to you, never serve any master except the master that is within you. The mind is the master. Okay? That is why you have to be in control of your mind. Because if you're not in control of your mind, others can control your mind for you. You see, as a little child, when you come into this world, you come into a state of forgetfulness, a state of amnesia. And so you do not know who you are. And so throughout your entire life, you're seeking to know who you are. But while you're on the journey of seeking to know who you are, there are systems that have been set up to drift you away from knowing that your real identity is your divinity. And so they give you false identity by having you serving some master outside of yourself or some savior outside of yourself. But all the power that you will ever need to use to achieve your every desire can only be found within you. Everything exists within you, and you're beholding a projection of that which exists within you. This entire world that you're beholding on the outside, though it appears to be without, it is within. Okay? When you understand that as above, so below, you'll understand just as a woman has a womb down below where she can bring forth, whereby she has a portal, so too there is a womb above. You see, your head is what contains this womb that I'm speaking about. And this womb is like a garden. Whatsoever you sow, that is what you're going to reap. That is why it's very important for you to understand the power of your mind. Mind is the master. There's no other master. Do not let anyone point you to the sky and believe that there's some savior or some master going to come from the sky. No. The light in the sky, which is the sun, that is what powers all of humanity. And that is what powers the animals and the trees and everything else. And without the sun, there's no life. Well, this sun is a reflection of the light that is within you. The sun that is within you. The intelligence that is within you. So you have an outer intelligence reflecting the inner intelligence. Okay? That is why whenever the sun is going down in the evening, you are going down also to sleep. And when the sun starts rising again, you start to rise again. So the sun is what puts you to sleep and what wakes you up. But they convince you to believe that there's some man who existed 2,000 years ago, and he's the one who's putting you to sleep, and he's the one that is waking you up. In short, what they do, they make you deny your God self, your higher self, which is your creative and innovative self. whereby if you get in touch with that self, you will come into a place of self-mastery, because you would realize that you are the Lord and Master of your destiny, and that it is your own thoughts that is creating your reality. So in short, you can bend reality to your will if you only understand that you are the master. I remember many years ago, I look at a movie called, I think it's The Last Dragon, with a black guy named Bruce Leroy. Okay? And the opposer of him used to always beat him up and ask him, who is the master? And he was seeking in all the wrong places to find the master, because his teacher sent him out to find the master. And he was looking in all the wrong places until when he was in a desperate place, and he was very weak and couldn't really help himself, and he was well beaten by his opposer, okay, who we refer to as the cook, the co-star in the movie, okay. And it was at that point he came to his self and he said, I am the master. So he was searching everywhere looking for the master, not knowing that he was the master. But it wasn't until when he said, I am the master, that he gathered his strength to fight his opposer who was opposing him. Okay? So the person who we refer to in the movie as the head crook, right? Wasn't until he acknowledged that the power was within himself that he was able to defeat the crook. Okay? So my brother, my sister, that's a great lesson for you to learn from, because most people look at movies and they think it's entertainment and they're not reading between the lines. But that's a reflection of the life that we live each and every day, when we live not knowing who's the master, and when we do not know that we are the master, when we do not know who we are, we will get beaten and walked upon all the time. Okay, and no one will take us serious. But when you really discover yourself and you realize you are the master, and you get to work, then you will discover your electrical and magnetic self, and you will defeat the enemy, because the enemy is definitely your lower self. So even the head crook in the movie was reflecting your lower self. It's always a story about your lower self and the higher self. For example, when people read about God and the devil, they're reading about the higher self and the lower self. And because they fail to realize that God represents the higher self, the master, the real master. Okay, they look on the outside and they pray. Okay, and beg and beseech someone who they think lives on the outside. And they believe that one who lives on the outside is their master. Let me give you a good example. For example, in 2020, in the big pandemic, which was just a tryout, right, that they was using until when AI fully established, and these delusional people realize that a robot is more intelligent than them and could think more better than them and so on. Because that's what is coming to. By the time we reach 2030, some people wouldn't even have any thoughts of their own, because they'll have something to do everything that they want to do for them, and they think it's an easier life when they're becoming more brainwashed and delusional, and they're losing the sense of hope and thinking. Because the hardest thing in this world for people to do is to really sit and really think for themselves. Okay? And so, in the time of the great pandemic, do you realize how much people in the islands was praying to Jesus? And these people, so delusional, they fail to realize that they have mortgages and loans by the bank. And these people who was putting pressure on them to take the inoculation or lose their jobs, they know these people had mortgages and loans. And these are the same people who read their Bible, not knowing that it's a book of mind science, and they're reading whereby it says that the borrower is a slave to the lender. They say that the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. And they're reading a book that is saying that they're supposed to be the head and not the tail. They're supposed to be above and not beneath. And they're being beneath. They're being the borrower also. And they're not realizing that they're living a defeated life. Because why? They never find the true master. And so they're worshiping a false master. And that's a false master keeping them in what? Self-doubt and self-hate. Keeping them in guilt and shame and judgment and condemnation. And they do not realize it. They will call you stupid and crazy. Because that's what they did to me in 2022. But when they see a great transformation just after 22 in my life, they realize this man had to know something for his life to transform just like that. And for him to have certain things. Just as right in the same 2022, as a matter of fact, when most people were struggling and things was, seems to be going totally against them because they were wondering, where am I going to live? How am I going to eat? They were more trapped in survival mode while I was more while I was more in meditative mode, where I was so glad that even though I had a business, and because of the pandemic, my business had to stop at that time. It didn't worry me one bit. As a matter of fact, I was glad for the time to be alone, to be in nature, and I spent so much time in nature and so much time, doing all of the mental exercises that I'm supposed to do. Man, I tell you, by the time the pandemic was over, I was fat, real fat in every way. You know what I mean? Everything was just working in my favor. Because why? I embraced the master. And I know that the master is within. So my brother and my sister, stop looking on the outside and focus within. And you will realize that you've been carrying this power along all your life and didn't know it. Truth hidden right in plain sight, and you don't even realize it. So with that being said, my brother, I can go on and on and on. But if you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole, you can book a one-on-one with me. You can get my books. They're available on Amazon. The links are all down in my description. You can check them out. If you want to be a part of my Patreon community, you can do that. And I have a course there for people who are willing to donate $20 or more, and it's called the Inner Sun Science and Technology to Create Your Reality Consciousness. And along with that is a bonus course on self-concept. So my last encouragement to you is to make sure you check out all of the links that are down below. And definitely let your intuition lead you and guide you into what to do. So with that being said, I just want to say peace. Love you all. I'm out.